Good morning, everyone. I hope that you're having an absolutely amazing day. Today I'm going to be reading a new story in our textbook. You can find it on page 72 of your textbook. It's called Robin Hood and Little John. Now, this is a traditional folklore. A folklore is a story that has been passed down from generation to generation, meaning grandparents tell it to their children, and their children tell it to their children, and so forth. And this has been passed down for hundreds of years, okay? So it is originally a story it's an English ballad, which is just a story, it's a type of story. And it dates all the way back to the 14th century. Now that would be like the 1300s, okay? So the story is telling you about Robin Hood and his friend or companion, Little John. And today we're going to be reading about how he meets Little John. But for you to truly understand who Robin Hood is, you have to know his background. Now, Robin Hood, he was a criminal, okay? So he got in trouble and he was running away, and he went to live in a place called Sherwood Forest. And what he would do he would steal from the rich and give everything that he stole, not only to his friends that he called the merry men, but also to other poor people who needed help or money to buy food or take care of their families. So that was who Robin Hood was in the stories. Now, there's no proof that Robin Hood is a real person, but there's also no proof that he's not. So we're just going to read it like it's a fictional story today. And we're going to be presented to his story in form of a comic, okay? A comic is characterized by groups of words like this with pictures. And we see that there's multiple different pictures and little bubbles that say what the characters are speaking, okay? So anytime you see a little box like this that has our words, this is going to be background information telling you what's happening in the story. Now, the little bubbles, like the solid circles like this, are going to tell you what the characters are speaking. So it's something that they are actually saying aloud. The little bubbles that kind of look like clouds, that's a thought. So that's not spoken aloud where anybody else can hear it. It's something that happens within the character, the person's mind, okay? So it's very important that you remember the two distinctions. Remember, once again, that the solid circles are spoken aloud, so everybody can hear that. But the little clouds are not able to be heard because they're thoughts. And these little boxes give you background information. It tells you either the setting, what's happening in the story, or something like that. And we read this just like we normally read a story. We read from left to right, okay? So I'm going to before I begin reading it to you, I'm going to introduce my quick vocabulary. There's not that many vocabulary words, but some of them I want you to know. Adventure. We know adventure is anything that's out of the ordinary. It's something that challenges our character or something that pushes them beyond what they're used to. Okay? Slender. The word slender means narrow or thin. You can either refer to an object as being slender. I could refer to this eraser as being slender because it's not very thick or wide. I could also refer to a person as being slender if they're very skinny, okay? Let's see, another vocabulary word that I want you to know is a weird word, and it's not very commonly used. It's the word bugle, okay? Now, a bugle is like a horn, okay? So it was traditionally made out of bone, and it would be curved in like a U shape, and they would put it to their mouths and it would echo. So it would be a really large, like loud sound. That's a bugle, B-U-G-L-E, okay? The next word that I want you to be introduced to or to understand before we begin reading is the word witty. witty. Now this is an adjective, so it describes someone as being very smart. So if someone says something and your person that you're describing is witty, says something back, it's very smart and it was very quick, okay? So the other word that I want you to know is outlaw. Now, Robin Hood is an outlaw, which means he's a criminal, okay? So he's someone who is running away from the law, which is why he's living in the forest with all his friends, okay? So like I said, we're going to be introduced to how Robin Hood meets his number one guy, his right-hand man, Little John, okay? And like I said, this is on page 72 of your textbook. And we're going to follow along in our textbook so that you can see the pictures too, okay? On a bright sunny day, Robin Hood was moving through the forest in search of adventure. He came close to a river. The river could only be crossed by a slender bridge. Robin stopped suddenly. Who is this man? You can see a man here. Let me pass. Ha 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 ha. I have as good a right to the bridge as you. You can go back till I go across. So the bridge was so narrow that two people could not walk on it at once. Robin Hood was very angry. I'll show you how we deal with fellows like you. If you don't go back, I'll shoot. If you do, I will thrash you with this pole. Thrash you means to beat you. Okay? Robin was impressed with the courage of the stranger, but he had to cross the river. Come on, let me pass. I could shoot you down even before you strike one blow. You are a coward. You have a bow and arrow, but I have a stick to defend myself with. However, Robin Hood was not a coward either. He threw away his bow and arrows behind him on the riverbank. You are a big, boastful bully. Just wait there till I get a stick. I hope I may give you as good a beating as you deserve. I won't run away. Don't be afraid. Robin Hood stepped off the bridge to cut a good, thick oak stick. Now we are even. We shall fight on the bridge. The first one to fall in the river will lose. There's nothing like that I like more than a good fight. The two men started fighting in the middle of the bridge. Both of them were good fighters and managed to give each other strong blows. The stranger, gathering all his strength, hit Robin Hood on the head, and Robin fell with a big splash into the river. Ha ha! Well, now that I'm the winner, I will let you cross the bridge. Well, I must own that you are a brave man and a good fighter, too. I don't want to quarrel with you anymore. Will you shake hands and be friends with me? Quarrel means to fight. Both men shook hands like the best of friends. Robin put a bugle to his mouth and blew a very loud blast. At once, they were surrounded by men in green, carrying bow and arrows. Ho ho, hee hee, ho ho, ha ha. How did you get a cut on your forehead? This young fellow and I had a fight. He cracked my crown and then tumbled me into the river. It means the stranger hit him on the head and then he fell into the river. Robin's men were very angry upon hearing this. They seized the stranger. Stop, stop. It was a fair fight. He is a brave man, and we are friends now. I beg you to forgive my men. They will not harm you, now that they know you are my friend. For I am Robin Hood, the man who helps the poor. Robin Hood, I am Little John. I came here to join you and your merry men. Will Stuteley laughed at his name. Little John! Little John! What a man! What a name for a man of that height! Little John! Why, he is 7 feet tall if he's an inch. It means he was really tall. So his name was Little John. So it was funny that such a tall man would be called Little. Well, come along, my Little John. I'm sure you too must be hungry. Everybody walked back to the forest, walking and talking merrily. Everyone had their dinner merrily. Robin found that Little John was not just a good fighter, but he had a witty tongue as well. He was very delighted to meet his new companion. From that day, both became great friends. Little John was next to Robin in the command of men. So it means that after the two fought, so they fought on the very narrow bridge, Robin Hood lost, and then Little John, the really tall man, became second in command. So Robin Hood was at the top, and then Little John, and then everybody else after them. Okay, so that's the story. That's the end of it. What you have to do now is go answer your questions in Google Classroom and make sure that you also write them in your classwork notebook. If you have any questions, please let me know. Have a wonderful day.